Wow, it's crazy out there, folks. It's Matt here, and this is your August 2020 real estate update. I want to take a moment to look back at what's been going on over the last month and talk to you about what's currently going on in the market right now. When we look backwards at July 2020, there were 11,346 single-family homes sold. That's actually probably a record in the last few years. It's certainly the most we've had of any month so far this year, and over the last couple of years that I personally have been really looking at it in detail. That's 2,000 more homes than were sold last month. Homes are selling about the same. They're selling at 42 days on the market, and the average sold price is just shy of $370,000. That's up 9.5% from July 2019. One of the things I want to talk to you a little bit more in detail about this month is the sold to list price ratio, or another way to look at that is your negotiability. Homes are selling for about 97% of their original list price. So what does that mean? To keep it simple, if a home were listed at $1 million, it probably would sell for $970,000. One of the mistakes I see buyers making right now is they are not understanding how competitive the market is. And they may come to me and say, hey, I see this house I love, it's $550,000, and I want to offer $490,000 on it. That's not realistic at all. The reality is that it's going to sell much, much closer to the original list price. On this chart here I put together for you, on the left-hand side is the sold price versus the list price ratio. So you'll see it goes up to 110%. Plenty of homes are selling for more than list price. And on the bottom, it's the days on the market. And then that red line in the middle is the trend line. And each of those gray dots represents one of the 11,000 plus closings in July. What you'll see is most of the homes are still selling within that first 40 days, and they're all selling really close to the original list price. It's not until you start to get 2, 3, 4 months down the line that the trend is you're getting some negotiability on the house. So the takeaway here is have some realistic expectations as a buyer. If you see a home on the market, don't think you're going to be able to come in and negotiate a significant amount on the list price. Odds are it's going to sell for at or above the list price. The next chart I want to show you is just a breakdown of that negotiability by price point. Again, further expectation setting. The green line represents 100% of list price, and then each of the bars represents one of the price categories. As you'll see, all of our mainstream categories are really, like I said, selling around for 97% of list price. And it's not until you get in the high end and luxury that you do see buyers having some wiggle room. So just keep that in mind as you're approaching your home shopping. It means different things for buyers and sellers, and we'll talk more about that later. So let's talk about what's going on presently today. As of this first week of August, there are over 12,000 single family homes for sale. Sounds like a lot, but looking at our current rate of sales, that actually represents 1.1 months of supply. So we're in a very strong seller's market. I want to show you another chart which breaks down the month of supply by price point. I think it gives you a better sense of how tight the inventory conditions are. On this chart here that I put together for you, it's months of supply, and I like to break it down by price category. Obviously the green line is kind of the neutral market. Above that line would be a buyer's market. Below that line, a seller's market. As you can see, the mainstream price points are very, very low inventory. And then even in the luxury and high end, it's still a seller's market. If you're shopping in one of the mainstream price points in DFW, below 400 or 500, it's a very, very tight inventory. That's what's driving the high price increases. That's what's driving the low days on market and the oftentimes multiple offer situations. So let's talk about what that means for whether you're a seller or a buyer. First, let's talk about sellers. If you're a seller or thinking about selling, it's a great time to be a seller. We just talked about how all the odds are in your favor. They're probably going to stay that way for a while. I talked about how half of homes sell in 18 days or less. Those are the homes that look good, that are priced appropriately, that are staged and prepped to sell. So just because you list your home on the market does not mean that it's going to be one of those homes that sells right away. If you're thinking about selling, have a strategy around showings. Most people are spending a lot of time at home right now, and it can be complicated to have showings when you're schooling your kids at home or doing daycare at home and working from home. So think about that in advance and set up your structure and how you allow buyers in your home around that. It'll make your life easier, and you'll set expectations for the buyers as well. I think one of the things that sellers right now are concerned about is whether they should list their house because they might not find one to buy. It's actually a great time to be a buyer too, especially if you have some equity you're pulling out of your current house. If you're selling a home with a lot of equity in it, you have a great negotiating position when you're buying the next house. And then You also are going to be able to buy a house that you're going to live in. Maybe it's for your ever home or even just for the next decade. You're going to be able to lock in an extremely low interest rate. Also at Compass, we have some awesome programs that allow you to potentially buy your next house before selling your current one. So definitely inquire about that if you're on the fence about selling. Now let's talk about buyers. It's tough to be a buyer in this market. I'm actually going to do a separate video that gives you a little more detail, but high level today I want to share with you a few things. First, we already talked about negotiability. You need to be realistic on your price expectations. If your max budget is $500, don't be shopping for homes that are $600. Shop for homes that are $475 and $480, and be mentally prepared to go up to the top of your budget. If you're shopping for certain features, maybe a very specific school, or maybe you want a house with a pool and a beautiful backyard, understand those homes are selling very quickly. The home that you love may only be on the market a few days. So be decisive. And then when you see what you want, make an offer. Also, when it comes time to make an offer, you should have done some homework already to have your pre-approval. When you see that dream house with the beautiful pool, that's not the time to be like, okay, let me talk to a lender and get my pre-approval letter. Have that in hand when you're shopping. You'll shop much more confidently. People are finding homes that they love. Like I said, 11,000 homes sold last month and there's 12,000 available today. There's definitely a home for you, but be smart about it and be clear about what you want so you can get it. So that's a summary of what's been going on in our market over the last month, some tips for you moving forward. I want to thank you again for tuning in this month. It's always a pleasure connecting with you in person, and I encourage you to reach out so we can connect in person soon. I know that I talk about the DFW market, which is a huge real estate market, but the trends are impacting everyone. However, what's going on in your city and your specific neighborhood could be a little different. Let's call and have a conversation about that. In the meantime, I wish you good health and I look forward to connecting with you soon. Take care.